Hello and welcome. I'm Tracy Crane. I'm the General Manager of Suulutaaq Incorporated, and I would like to take this opportunity to present to you our safety orientation video. It is the intent of Suulutaaq to protect and promote the safety, health, and well-being of our employees by providing a safe and healthy work environment at both our office and project site locations. This health and safety program is applicable to all of our work, whether it be in our offices, our construction, or our environmental operations. I would like to thank you for joining us and welcome you to the Suulutaaq team.
The construction industry is a place where ideas and innovation come to life. The results of our work surround us in the cities where we live, the roads we travel, and the bridges we cross. Infrastructure and the very hands that build it are what America relies on to survive and compete in an ever-changing world. But the labor involved in these modernizations can come at a very serious cost, as the construction industry can be a deadly business. Each morning, while most of the city sleeps, crews like this one meet over morning coffee to discuss the day ahead. But one of these men might not make it home. Today in the U.S., 4 construction workers die on the job every day. Though construction makes up 6% of the American workforce, it accounts for 20% of work-related fatalities. And that's not all. Startling statistics show that if you are a construction worker, your risk of being seriously injured every year is 1 in 10, as some 150,000 injury accidents occur annually in our field. This staggering number makes our work the most dangerous land-based occupation in the United States. Most of these accidents can be prevented with the most basic and often taken for granted safety precautions that start before you even begin your day. So always remember your hard hat. Be sure you are armed with your personal protective equipment such as safety glasses, face and ear protection, respiratory gear, long pants, proper hard-toed boots, safety foot guards, and metatarsal guards. Once you have these items, you will be ready to move on to the next round of safety precautions. According to OSHA, back injuries are one of the nation's largest problems, so never cut corners when it comes to your back. You can protect yourself by following a few simple rules. Never jerk a lift. When lifting or carrying heavy items, keep the load as close to your body as possible. Resist twisting when lifting or lowering materials. Turn your whole body instead. Lift and lower materials in a smooth and steady way while bending your knees and using your leg muscles for strength. Always ask for help in moving heavy objects and take rest breaks. Lastly, be sure to keep all walkways clear and dry to avoid slips, trips, and falls. Ladders and stairways can be another source for injury and fatality among construction workers, so always take precautions when using them. First, choose the correct ladder for your task, and always visually inspect the ladder for defects before use. If the ladder was built on site, it will need to have an inspection tag. Look for structural damage, such as split or bent side rails, broken or missing rungs, steps, or cleats. Be sure safety devices on the ladder are intact. Also, look for grease, dirt, or other contaminants that could cause slips or falls. Make sure your ladder is long enough to safely reach the work area. Never stand on the top rung and reach above your head. Be sure to tag out and put aside damaged or defective ladders for replacement, or destroy them immediately. Never load ladders beyond the maximum intended load or beyond the manufacturer's rated capacity. Always use extension ladders as single units, making sure never to break them apart to be used separately. Avoid using ladders with metallic components near electrical work and overhead power lines. Heat exhaustion is another serious hazard to watch out for, as it can lead to heat stroke and death. Keep yourself safe by following these rules. Hydrate. Drink lots of water before going to work and throughout your workday. Take multiple rest breaks in your cooling tent. Wear light-colored clothing made of cotton. Do the heaviest work during the coolest part of the day. In hotter areas, rotate cooling-off breaks with fellow workers. If you work in protective clothing, you may need to take more rest breaks, keeping a check on your temperature and heart rate. If someone on site is showing signs of heat stroke, call 911 immediately while trying to cool the victim. Once you have become an expert at the basics, you must remember that further precautions will be necessary. At the start of each work shift, your supervisor at Suulutaaq will conduct a job hazard awareness briefing to discuss the jobs planned for the day and how they will be done. Your supervisor will also inform you of any non-routine tasks that involve possible exposure to hazardous conditions and chemicals during your workday. You, with your foreman, will need to go over a job hazard analysis for the job you'll be working on that day. This form covers additional safety procedures for the job, as well as safety precautions for operating whatever tools will be needed. Once the foreman has gone over this JHA with you, he will discuss what was covered and ask any necessary questions to be sure you are clear on what is expected. Each person working on the job will need to sign the job hazard analysis. The foreman will keep this sheet with them throughout the day. If you will be working with chemicals, additional safety measures will be required. All work sites are required to display a list of hazardous chemicals employees will be exposed to. This is called a Material Safety Data Sheet, or MSDS. This form will describe characteristics, hazards, and controls associated with a specific chemical or combination of chemicals. This MSDS is a valuable tool in case of an emergency, so know what it looks like and where it is located at all times. In addition to the MSDS, each supervisor will verify that all containers on site are clearly labeled with accurate content information and appropriate hazard warnings. The names and addresses of their manufacturers should be printed on every container. If they are not, notify your supervisor immediately. Once you are aware of these chemicals, be mindful that spill prevention and control of these hazardous materials will be another important aspect of your job. Spill prevention and control plans, or SPCPs, are necessary for each worksite where hazardous wastes, such as pesticides, paints, cleaners, petroleum products, fertilizers, and solvents are stored or used. This plan should be placed in a conspicuous and accessible area along with the MSDS for all employees. When cleaning up hazardous material accidents, always be sure that the discharge of pollutants are not allowed to contaminate drainage systems or watercourses. In addition, be mindful of the environment by taking proper measures to ensure all spills are cleaned up in accordance to the SPCP plan and that hazardous materials are stored and disposed of following environmental protection regulations. If you are unsure how to prevent or clean up any hazardous materials, see your supervisor. Lastly, be sure to report all chemical spills to ensure accurate record keeping and a safe and clean environment for you and your coworkers. As we graduate from spills, know that you will often deal with combustible and flammable gases and chemicals. The mishandling of these elements commonly causes some of the most serious mishaps on a construction site, including explosions and fires. Simple precautions can help. Store gas cylinders in stable, upright positions with their valve caps secure. Use all flammable and combustible liquids with extreme care. When you are finished, close containers tightly and store them in suitable cabinets that are fire-resistant and designed to retain spills. Always keep this unit in a dry, cool area away from electrical and spark exposure. Also, be sure there are no smoking signs before you light up. If a fire does break out, call 911 immediately. Be aware of the proper plan of action for specific fires. Know the locations of and how to operate all fire extinguishers in your area. Be sure that all fire protection and emergency equipment is plainly marked and kept free of obstruction. Daily operation of hand and power tools are another source of injury accidents. The greatest risk posed by hand tools results from misuse and improper maintenance, so always use the proper tool for the task at hand. Do not use a wrench as a hammer or a screwdriver for a chisel. Power tools can often be much more hazardous. Before you begin work with them, secure yourself with your face shield and safety glasses. Then follow these strict guidelines to ensure you leave work with all your appendages intact. Never carry a tool by the cord or hose. Disconnect tools when not in use, before servicing, and when changing accessories such as blades, bits, and cutters. Keep all observers at a safe distance from the work area. Secure your work with clamps or a vise, freeing both hands to operate the tool. Avoid accidental starting by not holding fingers on the switch button while carrying a plugged-in tool. Tag all portable electric tools that are damaged with a Do Not Use tag. When using these electrical tools, be aware that there are many other dangers associated with them, including electrocution, burns, and shocks. All can lead to injuries and even heart failure. Under certain conditions, even a small amount of current can result in heart fibrillations and eventual death. To protect yourself from shock, make sure the cords and plugs of your machinery are in good condition. Cords must never be frayed and must always be kept away from water. Tools must be equipped with a ground fault circuit interrupter to prevent shock. They must also have either a 3-wire cord with ground, double insulation, or be powered by a low-voltage isolation transformer. Supply cords must also be protected against vehicular or pedestrian traffic damage. Before using a power tool, Remember to safeguard all hazardous moving parts. Never operate a machine until all guards are in place. Whenever possible, larger tools such as cranes, forklifts, and tractors should be used to move heavy materials. This is a proven method of decreasing employee back injuries. This heavy machinery, however, can pose its own risks, so keep clear of it at all times. Particular points of danger are in blind spots to the sides and rear of vehicles, and in the swing radius of cranes. Barricade accessible areas within the crane's swing radius. Be alert to avoid swinging or suspended loads while keeping yourself and your fellow workers in the clear. Never stand under elevated loads or guide them with your hands. Use tie lines instead, and always maintain eye contact with the operator. When preparing to move materials, carefully select the proper sling type for the load you are carrying. Take into consideration the size, weight, shape, temperature, and sensitivity of the materials to be moved, as well as the environmental conditions under which the sling will be used. Before operating any heavy machinery, check all machinery including tires, oil, gauges, hydraulics, and all fittings. Inspect all slings for damage. Once your crane is in operation, watch for overhead electrical distribution and transmission lines, and maintain a safe working clearance of at least 10 feet from energized electrical lines. Forklift turnovers account for a significant number of fatalities. When using a forklift, follow safe operating procedures for picking up, moving, putting down, and stacking loads. Drive safely. Never exceed 5 miles per hour, and slow down in congested or slippery areas. Wear your safety belt, and never stunt drive while operating a forklift. Do not handle loads that are heavier than the capacity of the industrial truck. Avoid traveling with elevated loads. Assure that the rollover protective structure is in place. Make sure that the reverse signal alarm is operational and audible above the surrounding noise level. While an employee can certainly face hazards above ground, they can also encounter them below in a confined space. A confined space is defined as a work environment large enough for an employee to enter and perform work, but with limited means for exit and entry. Tanks, vessels, silos, storage bins, hoppers, vaults, and pits fall into this category because they are not designed for continuous employee occupancy. These work areas can pose a number of threats to its entrance because they have the potential for hazardous atmospheres, for engulfing the entrant, and for trapping or asphyxiating its entrant due to lack of oxygen. Many construction workers have also been seriously injured by objects falling through entry points. Prior to entering a confined space, your supervisor will conduct a hazard evaluation to determine what chemical and physical hazards are present and whether an entry permit is needed. When this permit is obtained, the supervisor will conduct a briefing with the authorized entrants and attendants to discuss the job at hand and all precautions to take for entry and operation once inside the space. He will also review rescue and emergency procedures. Never enter a confined space if this permit is not posted. Once it is posted, you must have an attendant or your personal protective gear before entering. Also remember, no confined space shall be entered without a full-body harness, a 6-foot lanyard attached to the harness D-ring, and a lifeline attached to the lanyard with opposite ends secured outside the confined space. Finally, be sure that your lanyard and lifeline have double locking rings. If you have kept all these safety precautions in mind, you might have saved your own life or the life of a coworker.
Violation of our drug or alcohol policy or violent acts in the workplace will not be tolerated. I would like to thank you for joining us and welcome you to the Suulutaaq team.